Over the past few months, I have built 5 Nethergames Bedwars maps, all with the same unique problem. There's literally nowhere to go. And so in an attempt to right my wrong, I built 2 100% complete Bedwars maps, full of all the little bugs Nethergames left with them. I mean seriously, how hard was it to fix this one block? Or just add another slab! And so if you want to see the mistakes for yourself, you can download the maps in the description for both Java Edition and Bedrock. And with all that being said, it's time to see what I've been doing with my life for the last 20 hours. And yes, that number is accurate. And to start things off, we're going to be updating the map that first started this series, Wilderness. And with it being the first, I cut some corners. And so, after wasting an hour fixing a part of the base you're never going to see, I think it looks a whole lot better. And so with the player's island up to my standards, it was time to build the diamond gen, which was a breeze to construct and let me move on to mid rather swiftly, where I started construction on only a quarter of the first island, because my plan is to use a little world edit magic to copy and paste the rest of mid wherever I need it, which seems to be exactly what the Nethergames builders did, because the entire island is symmetric, which makes my job a whole lot easier. Here, I'm finishing off the first island by filling in the floor, before moving on to the second layer of the map, where once again I'm only building a quarter of the island, hoping that I can save myself a little bit of time copying and pasting. Now moving on to the third and most important island in mid, because it's the one with the actual emerald generator. Building this one was quite simple because it was basically a smaller version of what I did below, with the exception of this one being topped with a tree. And now with a quarter of mid built, it was time to try and use this whole world edit thing. I mean, how hard could it be? Just type in a few commands and bam, there's half a mid already. A few more commands and we should have mid. And not to my surprise, there were a few mistakes. Most of them only varied by a block or two. And then you have this one, which I don't even know what happened. But after a lot of trial and error, we finally had all the islands in place. And so it's time to build the centerpiece. A giant tree. Now replicating a normal sized tree is hard enough, but a giant one is basically impossible to do block for block. But I tried my best, and you can tell me how accurate you think it is. But with my very accurate tree in place, Wilderness is complete. But we're not quite out of the woods yet, because I still gotta build Futuristic. So I got on another world and started building the shell of the base, which might rival Fastfood in speed and simplicity. I mean, it's just the same design mirrored on all 4 sides. It doesn't get much simpler than that. And after building the exterior in what I think is record time, it was time to move on to the interior, where the design didn't get much more difficult. And so after finishing both the ins and outs of the base, it was time to start working on the worst place diamond gen, which basically guarantees that no one's going to get any upgrades. It is just plain out of the way and annoying to get to, but thankfully, actually building the structure isn't as bad as getting to it. And with the diamond gen nearing completion, it was time to start laying out mid. I started by outlining the outer ring, then laying everything else out and building the foundation, which was followed by the construction of these 4 lights, which was basically just me procrastinating. But I could only keep that up for so long before I actually had to start building the base, which seemed quite daunting at first, but thankfully it was put together with a bunch of simple patterns, especially the striped variation, which is used through much of the build. After making my first wraparound, I headed back to what I considered being the front of this portion of mid, building this section higher into the sky. And at this point I thought I was getting close, but nope, it keeps going higher and higher. So I kept building, before finally reaching the roof line, and making my way to the back, which has been neglected thus far. It honestly wasn't too bad to build. And after being done with that, we were nearing completion with only a few holes left to finish off. And with those holes plugged, I began questioning if I was really done, which of course I wasn't. I forgot about a few light poles and the emerald generator. And worst of all, I forgot about the 2 trees that I had to build. And like I discussed before, building these large trees accurately sucks. But with all that out of the way, I was finally able to show off my amazing world editing skills by copying and pasting everything perfectly first try. And after hours of building, Futuristic has also been completed.